There is a common criticism of fasting that goes like this. Fasting only works because it creates a calorie deficit. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable, I have to admit. Calories do fucking matter. But if fasting only worked because of calories, then any calorie-restricted diet would work just as well for men over 40. But they don't. So, what would I say? That's the part that's missing from the conversation. So after 40, the problem isn't that men don't know how to eat less. Well, some of them, of course, or most of them. But the key line is that their body no longer responds to restriction the same way. After 40, life doesn't simplify. You know it. It compounds, meaning work pressure increases, family responsibility increases. Sometimes, or quite often, I have to say, sleep quality often declines. So recovery margin shrinks and baseline stress rises. So the body becomes less tolerant of chaos, as you wish. What used to work through force now creates resistance. This is why just eat less becomes less effective and sometimes, I have to say, counterproductive. So calorie restriction doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in a stressed system. Let me explain. This is a chain. So aggressive restriction leads to stress response. Stress leads to elevated cortisol. Cortisol leads to fat retention plus poor recovery. And poor recovery goes to inconsistency. Telling a stressed body to eat less is like telling an exhausted person to be more productive. So calories still matter. If you eat more than you burn, you're gonna get fat. But how the body responds to restriction matters more after 40. So this is where fasting is really misunderstood. Now, a couple of points here I have to mention. 1. It reduces decision fatigue. So most men don't just fail because they overeat at meals. They fail because they negotiate with food all day. Explanation is fewer eating windows, fewer decisions, less cognitive load. Simple. So consistency improves, not because of discipline, but because life becomes much more simpler. 2. It creates metabolic rhythm. After 40, constant eating keeps the system noisy, meaning insulin never fully drops, digestion never rests, and recovery never completes. So fasting creates clear fed and fasted signals, not starvation rhythm. 3. It improves insulin sensitivity when stress is controlled. What important is, fasting is not magic. It amplifies context. Again, fasting plus sleep plus recovery, that's a benefit. But fasting plus stress plus undereating, that's a big failure. This is why fasting works brilliantly for some men and fails badly for others. 4. It improves adherence. And here is the real win. After 40, the best plan isn't the most optimal one. It's the one that survives real life. Fasting works because it's simple, not because it's extreme. And you Okay, let me put it this way. Fasting fails when it becomes a toughness test. Probably need explanation. Fasting goes with poor sleep, and fasting goes with hard training plus under eating, and sometimes fasting goes with constant stress. The key line is fasting doesn't fix stress. It exposes it. So let me explain more from the need fast point of view. Here's my position clearly. Fasting is not mandatory, but structure is mandatory. Fasting is a structural tool, and fasting is not an identity, but a badge of toughness. Hope it makes sense. But after 40, fasting works best when it removes pressure from life, not when it adds to it. So fasting isn't about eating less. Let's clarify that. And I hope I could do that. It's about making life lighter, more simpler. If this perspective resonates, explore other videos on this channel. Here, there's no hype, no pressure, only structure.